Welcome to Animated Animators, the podcast brought to you by forgetting to fill out your JIRA tasks and getting yelled at by a producer. I'm Nate Thomas, and with me, as always, is Nick Arbiter. I have realized that I don't always get a chance to talk about my credibility levels in this podcast, and I don't give our titles every time, like what we do for a living. So if someone's listening to it, they're like, "Great, it's Animated Animators. What Why are you qualified to talk about this again?" So I thought I would also add in at the end. So I am an animator, a gameplay animator at Bungie, working on Destiny 2, and Nick is a lead at PlayStation,
Yep, working on a project.
working on things. And the topic today is a really good one, and we're talking about working from home. This is in the news, obviously, lately because of many studios and companies that have done this. The big one was Activision Blizzard, confirmed that they are asking publishing employees to come back into the office on April 10th, and Blizzard workers back on July 10th. So for right now, it's 3 days a week, not five, but that always has the potential to change in the future. Lots of articles came out detailing this. There are people who talked about what happened in like all hands meetings. They were not happy about this. I'm not going to focus too much on like specifically Activision Blizzard. I think it's probably safer to just say working from home in general.
Yeah.
Um, I'm pretty unabashedly in the pro working from home column as you are.
hmm
And I think that if we go through like a pros and cons list, I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Yep, that makes a lot of sense." But with the cons, we're going to try to give people. Like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not just going to list stuff like, "Well, people are lazy when they work from home," because that's just not true. Especially, I would say in game dev. I don't work in another industry, but I'm not going to give a voice to that.
True. I guess we should specify that we are coming at this from the idea of working in animation slash game dev
Right,
specifically.
right. I
We
can't
work on
comment.
computers.
I can't, yeah, I can't comment on like a marketing role where you get to have just like your laptop at home. I would kill for a work from home setup that was just the ability to take a laptop in and out and just go wherever, go to a coffee shop. Actually, I have something to kind of tie into that a little bit later when it comes to the difficulty of doing hybrid work. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to go over some possible benefits, and we will just kind of explore them a little bit more afterwards. So you have a lot of increased flexibility and autonomy over your work schedule when you are working remote. You might be working your full day, at when you're in the studio, you're working from 9 till 6, but there are a million things that can get in your way. And it's kind of hard to schedule that stuff on the fly or to, run out and what's a good example? Like move your car because you're going to get a ticket on the street, or you have to run to the store really quick because you don't have XYZ, or the plumber's coming that day. So having that flexibility over your schedule it's chef kiss. It's amazing. The big One of the big ones. There are so many big ones, but commute time. Commute time sucks. And
Uh-huh.
I'm in Austin, and it's a if you take the 35, you could be on the road for an hour in rush hour traffic, possibly longer. When I lived in Huntington Beach and I was driving up to Culver City for a job, I would leave at 5 in the morning because that only took me 45 minutes, and then my that made my ride home only 2 hours at the end of the day. So I would leave at like 3 or whatever, just so that I wasn't driving for 3 hours. So having no commute time and all those costs associated with commuting, it's just such a benefit to not have to deal with those. Um, I-
100.
yeah, 100%. And again, we're going to talk about incentives later, and like if companies want you to come into the office, some of the things that they could do for you, and better believe that commuting is gonna come up.
hmm
Um, what else we got here? So reduce distractions and interruptions from coworkers or office environment. I'm actually curious. What's your take on the open office workflow?
Uh, I think that specifically speaking, this point it's a little bit more person dependent.
Mm,
Perfect honesty. I find myself getting more distracted when other people are around. Because I thought I was an introvert and I must be somewhere in the middle because if other people are around that I know or that I work with, I will talk to them. Like even and I don't mean like I won't stop talking to them. Like I'll talk to them for a little bit, work, and then it's one of those things where it's like, I got to go to the bathroom. I get up, I go. Before I come back, I'm probably going to talk to somebody else for like a minute, or I'll see something that's on someone else's computer, and I'll say something to them about it. Um, I personally find myself getting more distracted with it, but again, this is a personal thing too. Like another this specific point won't apply to everybody whatsoever. I'm not trying to hide that, but as somebody that like I wear hearing aids and I'm deaf, so sometimes straight up it's easier for me to have a conversation over Slack than it is in person because then I don't have to worry about missing something that you say because I'm just reading it. You know
right.
what I mean? And I mean, flip side of that too is like I'm probably louder in a general conversation and potentially more distracting because of it to other people that I'm not having a conversation with.
Yeah, you're the
You know what I mean?
worst, man. I don't know what to
I'm
tell.
listen, I know myself, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
um
No, I think that's something that's going to come up pretty consistently throughout this. Is that it's user dependent, right? It's
mhm,
everyone has their own different thing, and some people thrive in that environment with the open office concept and being able to go over to each other's computers, and some people do not thrive in that environment. I would include myself in there. Like I would have killed for like a cubicle even. Um, I mean, an office obviously would be great, but I can have that at home, and I can still communicate with my team just fine. I think that it does when you are a person who's okay, I need to set a meeting with someone, I need to reach out, I need to do this stuff, I need to be like proactive. That works. If you're a person who would just like not do any of that stuff and then you wouldn't reach out to people unless they were across from you and you could kind of ask them, then you probably don't enjoy it as much. But again, it's about getting the option to do this as opposed
yeah.
to it's just going to keep coming up.
I do want to say like one I prefer work from home. I'm always going to be a proponent of work from home. I'm a proponent of things like a 4-day work week. Like I'm much more into that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I but that's not to say like I'm against like having the open office where like there's no cubicles and like how it was at Steamroller. There was 4 people at a desk and
Yeah,
I had fun with that. Um
taking advantage of a studio's cool benefits. A part of me wants to make fun of it. Like I was like, oh, you're gonna give me a pizza party and donuts and coffee.
yeah,
I would rather get paid more,
exactly.
or whatever it is. But like that's I want to make fun of it. But then, for example, like now working at Bungie, like that studio space that they have in Bellevue. Like if I could live in Bellevue, like that would be awesome. But my situation does not allow for it right now.
Mhm.
And despite how cool it is, it's not worth uprooting my life at this exact moment, like potentially in the future, maybe. Um, but getting to enjoy the benefits of that office, you can't deny that some of the stuff is pretty cool. Like if it's a really cool office space and you have a lot of you're in a cool part of town, those are big ads. But I know that a lot of people in executive suites everywhere are like, we've shelled out a lot of money for this office space, and I do not want to look like an idiot. It's so cool and there's no one in it, so
Yeah.
it's 50-50.
Hmm.
But yeah, the open office concept is it can be distracting, long story short, but if you have the ability to bypass it, then you're probably not as worried about it.
I just remembered I have a funny anecdote about open
Mm,
office. So again, this is a me specific thing. But something that I can do working from home that I can't do in an office setting is again, I wear hearing aids. I don't necessarily want to keep them in all day, just like for like ear fatigue and stuff like that. And if I do that, if I take out my hearing aids, but I still am working, I have to crank up the volume of my headset.
Mm.
I can't do that when other people are around, because all of a sudden everybody's listening to whatever music I have on. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those people, if I find a new song that just came out that I actually like, I
Mhm.
listen to that on repeat for like a
Yeah.
half hour. Like, I've had people throw stuff at me, be like, pick another song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like for me specifically, like it's kind of a negative against me, I guess. I can be more distracting without trying like to other people around me in a
I can
smaller
see
space,
that. Yeah.
just because I have to, like, I need to listen to something louder.
Yeah.
Um
I can
another
already hear the baby boomer, like the fictional baby boomer, being angry at us because we are talking about something that people have had to put up with for forever. Like,
Mhm.
oh, you so what did people do in retail? They had to wear their, if they had hearing aids, they had to wear them. If they had to stand 8 hours a day, they had to do it. Yeah, that
Done both
sucked.
things.
That sucked, and we don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And more important than that, for this specific role, we don't have to in order to be successful. I think that's always
Yes.
going to be the bottom line here, is that there's no version of this, no definitive proof that work from home in game development is poor for the quality of the product, or
Yeah.
negatively affects the quality of the product. There's just no proof of it. And
Yeah.
Bungie has shipped, I came on too late to help contribute to this latest expansion, but there's at least two, I think three, during the pandemic,
Hmm.
and they were able to ship all this stuff, and it crushed. It did amazing. And people are, what, you have game developers, we're obsessed with doing this stuff, we're not slacking off at home. If anything, it's a con. We're working more than we're supposed to be doing. You know,
Yeah. You
I
you do have to be careful. Like, you have to
yeah,
patrol yourself and monitor yourself at that
yeah.
point.
We've hit on that before, where we talk about like ghosting hours or just working late
Mhm.
into the night. And like, I think that sort of ties into the image that some people might have in their head of lazy working from home, is that if I don't have anything to do and I'm waiting on something, or I'll try to be proactive. I'll try to research, can I just learn about something that we're doing? Can I learn about a program? Can I do YouTube research, like looking at reference, something? But the reality is, when I have a shot that I love, I will be face first in my computer screen for 7 hours. Like, that's my happy place. So you don't have to
Mhm.
worry about me,
Exactly.
being lazy at home. If anything, you have to worry about tearing me away from the screen. I have to worry about it. My
Yep.
eyesight's only getting worse. Uh, but speaking of that, but balancing your work life balancing your work life balance,
You got this, man.
balancing your work life balances.
Do you balance balances?
It's harder to do working from home. You actually, you know what? That's a blanket statement. That might not be true. I would say, like, it's important to keep your quality of life outside of work. Don't let that bleed into your work. Don't ignore your home life in favor of work. I don't see that. That doesn't happen for me. When I'm done, I'm pretty done, and I
Hmm.
like a million other things besides this job. So I don't really have a problem going out and doing those. But I can see how that could be difficult, feeling like if you were working in your living room, if your desk setup was in your living room, that's also where you watch TV. That's also where you eat. That's also where you do a bunch of other things. It's where you hang out.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to be in a spot where I have an office and you have an office, and we've
Hmm.
created a dedicated workspace. But that's not the case for a lot of people. They're not able to do that. I
Right.
wasn't able to do it for a long time. So I can see how that could be difficult for people. Like, wanting to go into an office, that's not some, I don't want it to come across like this is something you should feel bad about. That you should
Right.
it's you should have the option to do either one. And if you're like, I got to get out of the house, then by all means, like, be a person who comes in 3 4 5 days a week. Like, that, it's not a problem.
I something similar, or maybe parallel to that, is I know if I'm particularly struggling with something, one of the best things I think you could do is step away for like 5-10 minutes. Like, just take a break, right?
Mm,
Um when you're in an office, depending on who sees you and how your managers are and other people in the office are, this is not like, it's not everybody is like this, but depending on who walks by, they might be like, oh, that guy's just like walking around. He's not actually working. And
Right.
I'm like, versus at home, if I need to walk away, I just on Slack be like, hey, I'll be right back. I just need to set a status real quick, walk away, go get a drink, refill coffee, step outside with my cats, come back in. It's like, all right, mental reset. I'm good to go. And there's
Yeah.
no judgment for it. You know what I mean? Like that, I don't feel bad about taking that break.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes in studio, there's a there could be a mental block preventing you from taking that break. And you just try and force yourself into that. I have to fix it. I have to keep working. I'm here. Whereas if you just reset, it's like blowing away some keyframes and adding a single pose in the middle, and all of a sudden your work's better. It's like if you're just trying to spin your wheels, just reset and without judgment, and it's easier. Like you
Yeah.
get it faster.
It's not something that only happens in game dev. I worked a retail job that was just the worst for so long before I went back to school and ended up in game dev. And I remember there was a closet almost in the back of this business that had someone like created basically there's like a mattress, there was pillows, there was like it was like a hangout kind of area, and people would just go back there to nap on their breaks because it's retail and you're exhausted and you're miserable and you scarf down your lunch and you get 10 minutes to sleep. And here I can recharge by I can lay on my bed. I can walk around the block outside. I can uh hang out with my cat. The uptick in cat pictures alone is
Yes,
worth every bit of work from home strife. If I
100%.
see one, no, if I don't see any more photos of cats on people's keyboards, it will be the last day I'm in game dev.
Yep.
So there's a promise.
It would actually negatively affect my ability to work. Is
Yeah,
not seeing pet pictures in general, man.
yeah. I think that it's just nice. I think to see people they're a little bit more I don't know, you see more of who they are, more human, more their personal life. You get to show off your personality a lot more when you're working from home. And you can decorate your desk. Yeah, like you you can decorate your desk but there's only so much space and some stuff is not for everyone. You can't have
Your office might have considerations for things you can and can't put around your desk or
yeah,
limit the amount of space you can utilize.
yeah, yeah. There's some real risque anime stuff I saw on people's desks that I was just like, I don't know about this.
For the record, he's not talking about me. I want the record to
No,
show
no,
he's
it's
not
not. It
talking
wasn't you.
about me.
You know exactly what actually, I don't know who it was, but it was a steamroller. I could say that. But yeah, that creativity, the ability to be surrounded by your work. I have posters from stuff I've worked on across the room, posters from just games that I like. I have a really bad hat collection. This stuff is important, This is I also have a huge whiteboard posted on this wall, which is I find really helpful for just to-do list for today, or storyboarding or whatever it is. And it's not that you can't do that, it's just easier here. And our job is anything that makes it easier, I think is worth it.
So
But really
along
that's sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say really quick, along those lines, something that I feel strongly about is considering this isn't like even work from home, but consider you have the opportunity to build a space for yourself, whether it's an office or just an area that your computer slash desk is at, right? At home. You get to create that space for yourself. That is your
Mhm.
bubble. You have put time and effort into that space, right? If you're going into work, you lose the ability to enjoy that space as much. I really enjoy work from home. One of the reasons is because I built this office. I like this office. I like being in this office. The fact that I get to be in it more helps me to work in said office. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't think we're
I'm
ever going to be the kind of people whose office at home is like a mahogany chair. Wait, no, mahogany desk, leather chair, mahogany chair. Just the most uncomfortable chair that you've ever seen. But, rich leather bound books, and a whiskey tumbler set, and we use it to get away from our families. Like that I
Right.
can't. Why do people have home offices if that's not where they're actually working? Maybe it's where they keep
Yeah.
their files and stuff like that. But like this is an actual functioning office. Like this, I shoot reference back here. I have enough room. You can see my little tripod. I
Mhm.
play games that I use as inspiration right there, and also for fun. But it is nice to have that closed off from the rest of the apartment, mostly because my decorating style is awful.
Oh,
And
you
my
could
partner
tell.
is like, you can
You could
have your
tell.
office.
You could exactly, yeah. Katie's the same way. Like you could tell a lot about me when once the camera angle changes and you can see more of my room. Uh, like I was asking her for help. We're starting to hang stuff up on the walls finally, and I was like, I was asking her about my office. I was like, what do you think about this arrangement here? She goes, I mean, it's your office. Your style is much more
It's the
cluttered than
most
mine.
cutting thing I've
Yeah.
ever seen.
But like she didn't mean it in a mean way or anything, but it was funny because she was like, your style is you're okay with feeling a little bit more cluttered
Mhm,
because I do like to pack things into an area to fill it out in a way, which it can make things feel smaller because you just got more stuff there, right?
mhm.
But in the way that I look at it personally is I've got more art on my walls. I love seeing art that I like. You know what I mean? That just it makes me feel better. It makes me want to make art when I see art that I like. So I put more stuff on my walls than she does in her office. Is like again, like it's just that's my style. My style is me. Like you
Yeah.
look at this office, you're like, yeah, that's Nick's office. You know what I mean? You know? And I like that.
um
I love that feeling.
I think it comes down to I have very similar taste in that I just like seeing cool things either that I've worked on or just cool art. But the problem is that because it's so many different properties, there's no cohesiveness to it. There's
I
no like,
mean,
here's the theme of this office, and I have a Calvin and Hobbes poster over there, a Shape of Water poster over there, Dauntless. I got Witcher figurines. I got a gun from Apex Legends. Like,
you're missing the point. The cohesiveness is you. That is it is you.
that's a great tagline. I love that.
That's how I feel about this though. Like the cohesiveness is things that I enjoy that
Yeah,
represent me in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean?
that's a great
That's
point.
that's the
Yeah,
cohesiveness.
yeah.
I
I'll
can't
try
get
explaining that to her and see.
I mean, good luck, brother.
I have one last pro, and we'll blow through some of these cons, but one last pro, and this is strictly for the worker. Even most of these are for the worker and not for C-suite and not for executives. And that is you have much more freedom in your ability to find new work. Um, it is not easy to schedule interviews when you work Monday through Friday in an office from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. Can't exactly do it on your work computer during lunch. I mean, you could take a PTO day for it, but just for like a preliminary phone call or interview, what are you going to duck out to your car? I certainly haven't done that before. But it's one of those things that it has given power to workers in game dev to explore new opportunities in other places. And you don't have to feel like I can feel like I'm on my lunch break. I'm able to take this call. I'm able to, say the place I'm talking to is in a different time zone at 5 p.m. and I'm done for the day. Like I don't feel bad. I don't have to rush home, to take that call. Another kind of lesser part of that, but still very important, is that I think that even though people can communicate outside of work, if they were in the office, like you can still send Slack messages, you could still in person, people are more open about their experiences. And if you're trading information about your pay and you're trading information about like sign-on bonuses or just here's what I heard in this meeting, uh, it's people are more willing to talk about that stuff, I think,
Mhm.
outside of work. And again, this also depends on the how happy people are at your studio.
Yeah,
I haven't
we're
run
not
into that a
saying
lot
that
lately because
uh,
people where I am are very happy, so it hasn't
I was
really
gonna
come
say
up
this.
so much.
It's not like this is a regular occurrence where people are just going around. Like I personally don't think people should be afraid to talk about these things. I think that it's good when they are out in the open.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's much easier to have that conversation not at your desk or in an office of
Yeah,
said place that you work at.
you're just whispering to each other in the wings, and then you have some executives like, "What you guys talking about?"
Yeah, or you try having that whispered conversation with me, and I'm just like, "What?" You're like, "I'll
That's what
text
we
you. I'll
call a
text you."
callback, folks. That's what we call a callback. Sorry, I'm gonna blow through some of these cons really quick, and these are the ones that I've listed out that I think are legitimate, but I don't think of any of these as a dead end reason, or why work from home does not work. They're difficulties, but they're not necessarily like, yep, work from home is not an option because of this. Um, so potential difficulty with communication and collaboration, particularly when it comes to complex or creative tasks that benefit from an in-person interaction. I I can see that. Sometimes it's really easy to point at a screen, or it's easy to walk over to someone's computer and take a look at their scene, or take a look at what's happening in Engine, to problem solve that way. But it's also not something that's impossible to do when you're remote. It just
Yeah.
requires a different methodology
Hmm.
to accomplish.
Yeah. Agreed.
Um,
I mean, this is gonna apply to more of the cons too, but I don't
yeah,
think any of these, none of the pros or cons are absolutes.
yeah,
They all just require adjustments. Like everything is possible in both standards, whether it's in office or work from home. Literally everything works in both ways.
yeah,
You know, it's just how do you get from A to B on those certain things.
yeah. And again, it'll always come down to just give us the option. There is
Hmm.
no one way. Just give us the option to do it and make it, make it feasible for people to do. And it sounds so demanding when I say it out loud like that. And there's a lot of concerns. Like on this cons list, there's stuff like, security concerns. So working from home can introduce new security risks. You have to sign on to like secure internet, or you have to be hardwired in. Like those are real things and real costs that companies have to take into account. But the quality of life for your employees, especially in game dev, like this is such an easy get. I mean, not easy, but it's like do this thing, and people will be like, this is a great place to work because
Right.
I have the option to do it.
Hmm.
So besides that, like we've gone over some of these as pros. I would say like potential distractions from your home life, such as family members, pets, or household chores. It hasn't been the case for me. I think some people may think it's similar to an open office concept. They could think their house is distracting, especially during the height of the pandemic
Yep.
when people were homeschooling. Like I've never had to experience that. So I can't really speak to the chaos of having multiple kids in your house doing their Zoom meetings and trying to learn.
Oh yeah.
And you're probably, if you have your own office, great. If you don't, like it's chaos.
Hmm.
Um, I yeah, I can't speak to that. I'm sure it's not easy.
I think that
Um,
it definitely work from home will definitely, I think, can introduce more potential distractions to working.
yeah,
Um, I don't think that it's a detriment to workers to have, you know, because of that, or companies because of it. I do think I mean, this comes down to the individual themselves, but if a person is lazy in office, they're going to be lazy at home. If a
yeah,
person is on a shot that they like, they're going to work the same at home and in the office. You know what I mean? So again, it's like you said, these some of these were listed quote unquote on a pro or a con.
yeah.
They can go both ways, you
It
know?
it really can, and I think that some of them just play into when people or executives are talking about we just have this family atmosphere. We have this collaboration, and this is the culture that we've created. And working from home doesn't really fit into that culture. Like that culture disappears. And I think that when they say that, they're talking about the people who are both lazy at work and lazy at home. They're thinking of the worst case scenario for that. The culture is, you know, working with people. It's not playing ping pong. It's not having pizza parties. Culture is not, going out for drinks after work. The culture is, how does your team handle problems? How does your team communicate with other teams? How do you have opportunities to feel heard? That's the culture of your studio, not look at this coffee machine. It's pretty dope, right?
Right. Yeah, it's 100%. It's not about the things that you do together. It's how you work together and how the environment for the work is. You know what I mean? Not the physical environment, but the
Yeah.
actual like communicative, emotional, mental environment.
I've seen a bunch of great TikToks that are like, boss, the company culture just isn't the same with work from home. And then it shows like the company culture, and it's just an open office that's empty, and it's like a ping pong table or like a kitchen, and just nothing else. That's not the culture. That's just
That's
the
not
office space
culture.
you paid too much for.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's work our way down. This is a real one. Potential for increased feelings of isolation, loneliness,
Hmm.
particularly for people who thrive on social interaction in the workplace.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing
Or
else to say beyond that.
people that have a hard time initiating that when they need to, like people that are way more introverted, that
Yeah,
have problems reaching out if they need assistance or something. Same kind of pain.
yeah. If you're a lead in that scenario, you may find yourself having to reach out more to this person to check in on them, and I think that's why it's handy to have pre-scheduled one-on-ones, once every couple weeks, once a month, whatever it is, or set meetings every week where you can instead of having to reach out like on in an impromptu uh, session. But
Yeah.
it does. I think it just depends on who you are as a person. I like socializing, but I have my ways of socializing outside of work. I like playing, what do they call Jackbox games? Like I like that.
Yeah.
But guess what? I've been on the computer for 8 hours. I'm gonna look at a different screen for a couple of hours. Like I'm good,
Yeah.
I'm kind of done right now, unless I have a cool shot, and then I'm gonna go some hours because I've learned nothing. Uh, and that's the thing is I like my coworkers. I haven't gone to it. The reason I've joined studios is because I like my coworkers. I like the people I saw in the interviews, and I asked them what they
Mhm.
like to do and what they're passionate about, and I've enjoyed talking to them, and I enjoy talking to them. I also think I can learn something from them, but it
Yeah.
none of it has been a situation where I feel like I won't be able to do that from this office right here.
Yes.
One thing that Bungie does that's really, really a great idea is they do new hire lunches. So anyone who is a new hire within whatever it is X amount of months, you have like 100 lunches that you can get reimbursed for, I think, and you can schedule them with anyone.
That's
So
super cool.
you want to talk to so and so from BFX or design or whatever, hit them up, have lunch, get ordered DoorDash, whatever, and yeah, they originally did it, I believe, when they were in person, so they could go
Yeah.
out to lunch.
That would probably be easier to schedule in person per se,
But what
but
a great example of, okay, this can still happen in remote. There are people in their office now, like they're doing hybrid. Some people just want to go in,
yeah.
and they're still able. If you're in the Bellevue, Seattle area, you can do one of these lunches in person. I know I would, but
Yeah.
it's nice to
Something
have that option to get to know people outside of it.
something similar, and I hate always using my own personal experiences for this, and
What else do we have?
sorry, but like I worked with Chris, as he was my supervisor and a lead both at Steamroller and at PlayStation, right? I can tell you for a fact, there's no difference for like between the two other than the project that we're working on. Like
Yeah.
he is the type of person who, in his eyes, the people on his team are priority above all else, and you can tell that by the way that he leads. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
he does what you were talking about, like the meetings. He sets up meetings every other day for the whole team to get together for 15 minutes. It we might not have uh work stuff to chat about, but that's 15 minutes for us all to see each other's faces. And what that actually does is it makes everybody it makes it easier for everybody to reach out and chat with each other. from home. You know what I mean? And the other thing too is like, obviously, we were at Steamroller before pandemic. It doesn't feel any different. Like the amount or style of meetings is the same. So like the pre-pandemic to the current work from home, you can still be and operate just about the same way.
Mhm.
You just might go about it slightly differently. You know, like the infrastructure to it might have a couple more steps, but essentially it's functioning the exact same way.
Honestly, for being in the tech sector, I guess we'll call it, you think people would be all over wanting to disrupt and change and do things different and
Oh
mess with the
God.
paradigm and create a company that essentially you've reinvented the subway. You think that they would be all for that, but they're still like, I genuinely think that there are some people in executive offices with button-up shirts and Patagonia vests who are saying to themselves, it's just not, I can't walk the floor. And really what they mean is, I don't feel like I have the control that I used to. I don't feel like I know what's going on. And this is me taking a leap here,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like I know what's going on because I don't, unless I have people in office to like look over their shoulder and watch what they're doing. And I'm just not kind of sure what these other departments do. That would be fine. If your job is not in these other departments, then fine. But don't make it like, well, I can't see anybody here. Am I really a manager? Am I really an executive if I
Yeah.
can't see the people and give them a pat on the shoulder and say, Fridays, huh? Anyway, we're at we got like a minute and a half left, and I refuse to start a new meeting. So this is gonna be the end of this one. We do have, there was a couple more things to talk about, but really it was just me. I realized that I wrote like 2 paragraphs in preparation on this, and it's just a rant. The bottom line is, people should have the option in game development to work from home, to be hybrid, to work in the office. I know that it's difficult and it is not some easy solution to offer to everybody, but there is zero evidence that the quality of the product diminishes with work from home. And I think that there's a lot of anecdotal evidence of people being happier employees. And I know that a lot of people talked about Bungie in the light of these meetings that leaked or whatever, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Bungie does full-time remote, the option for it. Good to know. Interesting."
Yeah. I think that I completely agree. At the end of the day, it is 100%. Everybody's different. Everyone's situation is different. The more options you can have, the better
Yeah,
status of employees you're going to get.
yeah.
Like,
There's our time. Thank you for listening to Animated Animators. I'm getting a
woo!
beeper in my head. We'll be back with another one.